Appreciate if you would do that. We always begin our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we ask you to remain standing. We'll have a moment of silence. And I think this week it's your turn, if you wouldn't mind leading us. You did it last week, right, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, Dan, could you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. We'll have a moment of silence. Thank you, everybody. Vanessa, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Sinata?
Here.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Here.
Commissioner Vogler?
Here. Do have a quorum. We always have 2 times during our meeting for public comment. One in just a few moments, and then one right before we adjourn. We welcome your comments. We do ask that they be related to county government matters, and we also ask that if you can try to limit your time to about 5 minutes, we'd appreciate if you could do that. Under row officer reports and comments, we always give the row officers a little bit of time if they wish to come to our meeting, and today none of our elected row officers are here, and that's all right. They're not obligated to be here. Public comment. Anybody in the room have any comment they'd like to make? I know a number of you folks are on the agenda. Over and above that, any comments? Hearing none. Thank you. Under fiscal and contractual, by the way, the documents to which we will be referring are all public documents. Everybody wants to take a look at them, you're very welcome to. We'll share them with you. We have 2 warrant registers from the Controller's Office, one dated December 29 of 2023, the other one January 5 of 2024. I'll give my 2 colleagues whatever time they need to look them over, and then whenever one of you would be ready, I could take a motion to accept them. I do want to point out, please, any questions you might have, but on the 3rd page of the first warrant register, which is January 5, you'll see a fairly sizable figure in the amount of $123,317. Prime Care Medical. That is the organization that provides medical coverage at our jail. And forgive me if you already knew that, but if you were wondering what Prime Care Medical is, that's the company with whom we contract for medical services at the jail. But please, gentlemen, take whatever time you need to look these over, and then, again, I can take a motion whenever you're ready. You wish to make a motion, Mr. Sonata, to accept these documents?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept these documents.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Do either of you gentlemen have any questions about the warrant registers? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call, please.
Commissioner Sinata?
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Vanessa. Next on the agenda, we have our minutes from last week's public meeting. And once again, gentlemen, take whatever time you need to look them over. And if you have any questions, feel free to raise them. Otherwise, whenever one of you is ready, I could take a motion to adopt the minutes. But please take your time.
I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Is
I'll
there a
second that
second?
motion.
Chris, thank you so much. Any questions about the minutes? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call, please.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you, Vanessa. We move down to reports, and we always set aside time for commissioner reports and comments. And this morning, Commissioner Kennedy gets to go first. It's all yours, Dan.
Well, this is our first week in office. And it's been interesting. Well, we have gone through the ringer and learned a lot. Couple things that I do every day, and I've done it since I was probably 12 years old, is read the Newcastle News, and Debbie's not here to thank her, but she's a big part of what we do. But yesterday, I was reading the Newcastle News, and Steve Vica, as you guys know, Pyrotechniques. The last paragraph of the article on Steve said, "Good things come out of Lawrence County. People should know that." Vital added, "There are a lot of great businesses here, and we need to do a better job of making sure young people know they have a place here in Newcastle. It's critical." And just every day I pick something out of that Newcastle News, no matter what it is. But yesterday, that kind of stuck, and I think that's what we've done this week and talk about this week. The three of us. This is something we need to realize. Hey, it is critical that we let the young people know there is good jobs here in Lawrence County. So that's what we'll be focusing on. Me personally will be focusing on going down the road. We need to try to keep them interested and stay here much as we can, because there is a lot of good going on here in Lawrence County. I didn't realize it until I ran for county commissioner, but when you start running all over this county and meeting everybody in the little boroughs, the townships you meet, a lot of good people running this county for us. That was my observation this week. Next week I'll have another one. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dan, very much. I guess I'm next. Just a couple things. Later in the meeting, we're going to be making a couple of appointments, and it ties into what Mr. Kennedy just said. Some of the boards that we serve on give us that opportunity to promote our businesses, to promote the county, both internally, within the county's borders, and externally. And you'll see some of the boards that the three of us are each going to be serving on. We'll be talking about that in just a few moments, tie in exactly with what Mr. Kennedy said. I'll note that since we've last met, we did have an opportunity last week for the two new commissioners to spend some time with our department heads and our elected row officers, kind of a get-to-know-you session, although it's nice because both Chris and Dan basically knew just about everybody in the room already. That's wonderful. Also, last week, the three of us attended the Conservation District's annual meeting, which was held out at the Grace Methodist Church in Shannock Township. And I've been serving on that board for quite some time, but we did have their annual meeting. And what's nice about that, speaking of young people, three of our school districts, their students who are in the FFA program attended and gave their demonstrations that they then were, this week as we speak, are at the farm show down in Dauphin County. And they kind of did a test run in front of us and some of the other folks attending the luncheon. We learned about chicken coops and what were some of the other things that they, do you recall?
Feeder bins.
Feeder bins, that's right.
And the drones.
And the drones, yeah, it was just very educational. And the young people did, and you know, the interesting thing was that most of them were girls. I commented to one of the conservation members that he said, 30 years ago, FFA was primarily all guys. But did you notice the majority of them were girls? And that's a great thing. So we certainly enjoyed our time there. I will be announcing toward the end of the meeting some of our some of our upcoming meetings between now and next Tuesday. So we'll cover that later on. So those are my comments, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Sanada.
Thank you, Chairman Vogler. And yeah, it's been a very interesting first week at the courthouse. I had an opportunity to take a walk around and get very acquainted. I've been here many times over the years, but never spent the amount of time to actually get to see them. And I know Commissioner Kennedy and I are going to be meeting with various department heads and staff to get further in depth of what they do. And I think that's so important for us as the newcomers, at the government center, to learn what our staffs do. I think that's so important because a lot of good work comes out of this. And echo what Chairman Vogler said, we wish them the very best. The three FFA team, or 6 teams, with 3 school districts. They're in Harrisburg as we're sitting here, and we're very impressed of what they did. I've had a chance and opportunity over the years to watch and see them. And we've been very fortunate in Lawrence County with the quality of students that we send down there. And, as Commissioner Kennedy says, the young people, there's opportunities here. And that's, for the ag perspective of the community, that's so important, and they've always shined. I mean, it's been a very, for me, a very positive week. And I want to talk about something that I had a small opportunity to do. Last summer, I got to play a very small role in a film that was shot here in Lawrence County called Crossing Paths 2, No Way Out. And they had the world premiere Sunday night. It's actually over in Boardman, Theater 8. And you must have had about 140 people from Lawrence County came over to see it. And I have to tell you, I'm impressed with, and I've said this over the years, the quality of talent we have in Lawrence County. And, Jim Kuhn and Smoky Bear Productions, they're going to be doing another film, or two films over the next year and a half. And it involves all local talent, local locations. We've had a chance to see the first, and this was the second movie. They're promoting Lawrence County. And I think it's so important to us, as we move forward and to keep showing these positive attributes. And through filmmaking, it really gives it a different perspective. When you see it on the big screen, as I had that opportunity to see on Sunday night, it's a different film. And to see these were all local actors. And a lot of them were from Mahoney Town. That's where I started at, as a young kid down in Motown. And these guys did a great job. And I just want to commend them and Smoky Bear Productions for doing this, committing to Lawrence County and others. We want to continue to do that. Over the course of many years, films were shot here. We shot out in Volant, your neck of the woods, and McConnell's Mills. These type of things. I mean, we have opportunities out there. We're going to continue to try to promote those opportunities, let people know this is things that could be good for the community. So I did want to throw that shout out to Smoky Bear Productions. Like I said, I had a very small role in it, and I enjoyed that time. But having a chance to see these guys, and these guys put a lot of time and effort, and I've over the years, I had an opportunity many times to work with Lawrence County, Newcastle Playhouse, and the talent down there is just phenomenal. With the Stars of Tomorrow, how many have gone on to Broadway and things like that. So that's a gem in our community as well. And we want to continue to, work with them. And we get back to the young people. There are things to do in this county. And I encourage our young people, take advantage of these arts out there, whether it's the Hoyt, the Playhouse, the Historical Society, these type of things, because, you want to grow and move on. So that's my comments for this week. So thank you, Chair.
We expect an Academy Award nomination for your role in that movie. No, that's very nice. I've had people tell me I should go on stage. I say there's one leaving in 5 minutes. I want to tell everybody, both here in the room and anybody that might be watching this. We had 2 very good commissioners leave at the end of last year, but I can assure you we've had 2 very good commissioners come on board. And I know it's been a very busy week, but I think it's been a very productive one. And these two gentlemen have hit the ground running. I appreciate all the cooperation we've had amongst ourselves and they're working hard. I can assure everybody that these gentlemen are both working very, very hard. So thank you for your comments, both of you. We'll move on to new business. And Mr. Achabone, I assume you're here for the first two. Would you
Yes.
mind coming to the
Sure.
microphone,
No
please, so that we can pick up? Thank you. Mike Achabone is our court administrator, and he has two proposed resolutions. What will the number be for the first one, Vanessa?
6.
Number 6 of 2024. To my two colleagues, this is something we do every year. The courts ask us to appoint attorneys to various positions. This first proposed resolution, I'll let Mike introduce it to us.
Thank you. We have contract counsel with criminal cases and with juvenile cases. And sometimes we call them conflict counsel. These are people that are appointed by the courts. There's multiple reasons, but there may be conflict with the public defender's office, there may be conflict with multiple defendants. These attorneys agreed to do this work for us at a fraction of the cost if they were doing this independently. So it does help the county out tremendously monetarily, especially, if we have a big case, and this happened a couple times last year where somebody had to go outside of contract and we ended up paying an exorbitant amount of money. So these people, these attorneys have agreed to help us out by being contract counsel. And that's where we're at. But we do this every year. And these attorneys usually stay on. With the juvenile contract counsel, we did have a replacement for John Bonjavingo with attorney Paula Chalala because attorney Bonjavingo went to work at CYS as their solicitor said. We were fortunate enough to get attorney Chalala to help out in that situation. So that's where we're at.
Well, Mike, thank you. And as Mr. Achabone noted, the appointments themselves are made by the courts, not by us. However, the county enters into a contract with each of these attorneys.
Yes.
Because it's a contract, that's where we come in, since the commissioners are the body that has the authority to enter into contracts. So that's our role today. And what we're doing with proposed resolution 6, the courts have asked us to enter into contracts with the following attorneys. Now, this first one, as Mr. Achabone noted, these are for criminal cases, excluding murder cases. But the attorneys here are, and they're all reappointments on this first document. Attorney Robert Barletta, Attorney John Bonjavingo, Attorney Michael Bonner, Attorney Joseph Carney, and Attorney Kevin Lorello. And this agreement will run for 1 year, January 1 through December 31. Mr. Sonata, do you have any questions for Mr. Achabone?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy?
No.
Okay, thank you both, gentlemen. That being said, Mike, unless you have anything else, I can go ahead and get a motion on this. May I have a motion for resolution 6, please?
I move that we approve resolution 6.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you so much. Proposed resolution 7, and Mr. Achabone covered this. This deals with juvenile cases specifically. And the 4 attorneys with whom we will enter into contracts are, again, these appointments are being made by the court. We are doing the contract end of it. Attorney Paula Chalala, Attorney Larry Punterary, Attorney Carolyn Flannery, and Attorney Jean Tempesta. I neglected to mention on both of these resolutions, the contract for each attorney is $28,000 per year. And that's true for resolution 6 and the one that we are now considering, number 7. Mike, have I overlooked anything?
No, they are paid on a monthly basis. And so for any reason they're unable to fulfill that contract, it would only be paid up until they're completed. And then oftentimes we would, in that case, appoint another attorney in that position.
Thank you for that note. Mr. Kennedy, do you have questions for Mr. Ackerman?
No.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sonato?
No.
Okay, thank you both, gentlemen. May I have a motion then for proposed resolution 7?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 7.
Thank you, Dan. Is there a second?
I will second that motion.
Chris, thank you so much. If there are no other comments or questions, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thanks, Vanessa. Mike, is that all you have for us? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners.
You're welcome to stay, but I'm sure you got a lot going on upstairs.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Take care. The next proposed resolution is, actually, we have 2 of them, and Mr. Hardister is with us. Our J.R. Hardister is our chief assessor. And we are clarifying, these are basically technical changes to what we did last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yes, per the request of the commissioners, I had a Board of Assessment appeal hearing the following day after your reorganization. The resolution you adopted was for a 2-year term, and the statute permits a 2 or 4-year term. And the 3 of you expressed interest in appointing them to a 4-year term if they were willing to do so. And I went to the board on the following day and asked their interest, and all 3 of them were interested in serving for the whole 4 years, as long as they are capable, and we'll cross any bridges if that were to happen, but they all expressed the interest. So we could not change the resolution last week because it was already published as a 2 years. So this is just an amendment to the resolution to change it from a 2-year appointment to a 4-year appointment.
JR, thank you for that background. And I'd remind everybody that the 3 gentlemen in question, and they were named last week, but we'll enter it into the record. Mr. John McConaughey of Mahoning Township, Mr. Charles Tom Dean of Wilmington Township. I want to clarify that the paper wrote he's from Volant. That's his mailing address. He actually lives in Wilmington Township. And then Mr. Joseph Carafino from Wayne Township. So what we're basically doing today is confirming that these 3 gentlemen would be reappointed for a 4-year term. Mr. Sonata, do you have any questions for JR?
No, very thorough.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Kennedy, any questions or concerns?
No, I'm good.
Thank you very much. So may I have a motion for Resolution 8?
I move that we accept Resolution 8.
Thank you, Chris. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Dan, thank you so much. If there are no other comments, I could ask for that roll call.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thanks, Vanessa. And then JR, I think proposed resolution 9 deals with the chairmanship
That's correct.
of the Assessment Appeals Board.
That's correct. It's the same thing, it's just amending, changing his term from 2 years to 4 years to run concurrent with the board's terms.
Thank you, sir. So this resolution number 9 would essentially reappoint Mr. Charles Tom Dean of Wilmington Township to continue to serve as chairman of the Lawrence County Board of Assessment Appeals from 2024 through 2027. Mr. Kennedy, do you have any questions or concerns? Thank you, Mr. Sonata.
No.
Thank you, both gentlemen. Would anyone care to make a motion then for this resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 9.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Mr. Sonata, I thank you too. If there are no other concerns, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. JR, got anything else for us?
No,
All right. Thanks for coming down.
no problem. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
gentlemen.
We appreciate it. Well, I'm looking forward to these next 2. This is, we would be looking at resolutions 10 and 11. And it's nice to have both Jerry Zona and Megan Gehring from our recycling office. If you 2 would like to, we might have to pull the chair. Or if, Jerry, you doing it just yourself, or is Megan?
No, Megan, come up.
Sure,
Have a
please.
seat.
The more the merrier. We're glad to have you both, and I know that this, if I'm not mistaken, this is also something we do at the beginning of each year. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, you are correct on that.
Oh, okay. Every once in a while I am right. Number 10, proposed resolution number 10 deals with a planning grant that we apply for household hazardous waste education. That the grant would come from the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. I'll let the two of you fill us in with all the details.
So this particular grant is offered every other year. What it is a public education grant that deals directly with household hazardous waste recycling. And that includes the disposal of electronics waste and tires as well. Counties are responsible for the household hazardous waste education, so this grant is geared specifically to counties. We are crunching the numbers right now, but if any history is any indication, we're looking at probably $10,000 to $15,000 grant, so nothing too crazy there.
What Jerry left out is that household hazardous waste is sometimes the food I cook at home. That's included. I'm sorry, Jerry, you have other comments.
You were good there. So that's what we're looking at for calendar year 2024 and 2025.
Before I turn it over to Mr. Sonata and Mr. Kennedy for questions, since your office is tied in both with us and our friends up in Mercer County, I assume that at some point, if you haven't done so already, that at some point you will, do you have to go in front of their Board of Commissioners as well?
Yes, this particular grant, the 901B, is a county-specific grant. So we will be doing the same thing for Mercer County as well.
Great, thank you for that. Mr. Sonata, questions for Jerry or Megan? Well, thank you. Mr. Kennedy.
So that 10 to 15,000 stays here in Orange County, we don't split it with the,
Correct.
they
Yes.
get the same amount up there.
Mercer County will apply for their own county grant for household hazardous waste education. It's about the same amount between for both ones.
Every now and then we'll bump that amount out and do a public education campaign that consists of running full page ads or fact sheets in the Newcastle News and some of the local papers. And which is one of the things we're going to be doing with this grant is updating our fact sheet series. So we've got fact sheets that are very specific. They have been developed with our residents in mind. So all the discussion is at our local, so that when somebody reads it, they can relate to it. So we're going to be updating with contact information. Obviously, these were originally done in 2017. So the website is a different address. The emails are different. So a lot of little nuances here and there. We're going to try to update.
Other questions, Dan?
Good.
The three of us, coincidentally, are going to be here at a public meeting this afternoon with the three Mercer County Commissioners. And have you met the two new ones yet?
We have not had the opportunity yet.
I
We
think
look forward to them.
I think you'll like them both. Of course, you know Mr. McGonigal, but Commissioner Coleman, I've been acquainted with her for many, many years. And then just recently, we've met Commissioner Finley, and he seems like a really nice fellow. So I think you'll enjoy getting to know them. Are there any other questions under proposed resolution 10? If not, gentlemen, would one of you care to make a motion for the approval of this resolution?
I make a motion to approve this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Dan. And if there are no other questions, again, what we're doing is this will give Mr. Zona and Ms. Garing the opportunity to move forward with the application for this grant. I'll ask for a roll call.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. The next proposed resolution, number 11, this would involve the county entering into a contract with the Pennsylvania Resources Council to provide glass recycling services. And I'll let the two of you fill us in with all the details, if you would.
So I'll start with this. Megan has been working pretty diligently the past few years to bring glass recycling to residents of both Lawrence and Mercer counties. There's a little bit of back history when the pandemic and the market crash in, what was that, 2018 thereabouts. We saw glass removed from a lot of curbside recycling programs. And of course, glass is a very recyclable material. It saves a lot of energy by recycling it. So last year we ran some pilots, and for them
Yeah.
take the reins.
So last summer, we piloted PRC's traveling glass bin program. It It was in July. Over the summertime, we had, through their program, they provide a week-long event, the collection container to collect glass bottles, jars, and jugs. They provide the hauling of that to Cap Glass, which is the glass processor who processes that glass into cullet, and then that's then sold to Owens, Illinois for the manufacturing of new glass containers. So it truly is a complete recycling process where glass containers are recycled into new glass containers. So through that program last year, we collected about 2 tons of glass here in Newcastle. We also hosted the event up in Mercer County and collected about the same, 2 tons of glass. This year, we are proposing 2 events in both Lawrence County and Mercer County, which would make a total of 8 events because the city of Hermitage also conducts their own or sponsors their own event twice a year. So 8 events between April and October. And it's about once per month, there would be a collection opportunity for residents to bring their glass containers. Newcastle is one of the locations in the courthouse parking lot where our other blue bins are located. 2 events in Hermitage, 1 event just outside of Greenville Borough, and another event just outside of Mercer. So we're using this program to see how much material we can recover now that it's been removed from curbside programs. On a side note, well, I'll get back to that. But so 2 events would be a minimum of $1,900. It's $950 per event. If there is an extra hauling, it's $650 to haul that away and give you a new container. Should one container fill and we need a new container delivered, it's extra. But we don't anticipate that happening. So at a minimum, it would be $1,900 for 2 events. That has been allocated, I believe, in our events and programs budget for this year. So we do have, on a side note, we do have some technical assistance monies from the Department of Environmental Protection in the form of professional services to work with SCS engineers to investigate what an ongoing program might look like for the collection of glass in both of our counties. And we should have a report available in the next few months. We had a site visit with them where we took them around to a couple of our locations, not only our blue bin locations, but where we hosted some events up in Mercer last year to do a site assessment, and we anticipate the report will take a look at what a program might look like if we want to continue with this in the future. So, yeah, there are some haulers that are, wanted to touch on a couple of the environmental and economic benefits. The recovery of, if glass is put in your curbside recycling bin, along with your single stream recycling, it's sent to a recycling center where they sort and separate all of that material into their individual material. And the recovery rates for glass from single stream recycling are at least 30 to 40% less than if it is collected separately, as in a glass only drop off location. So glass that is put in your curbside bin, that is taken to a recycling center. Most of it is lost in contamination, and what is actually recovered is used as an alternative daily cover, at least here locally. And so ultimately it's lost to a landfill anyway, versus being recovered for true recycling.
Big issue with glass recycling, if you collect it curbside, is obviously just the very nature of glass itself. It breaks. So once it breaks, of course, it contaminates the paper, it contaminates the plastic, and it contaminates the soil. You get that, they call it mixed cullet. which is a little more challenging to recycle. So as Megan said, we do have, some of it will get used as alternative daily cover, depending on what recycling center it goes to. But a lot of it will just get straight up landfill because it cannot be recycled once it's in that.
Well, I certainly wish you continued success with this program. I'm always impressed with your technical expertise as it relates to matters such as this. I always learn something when you come to our meetings. Today is no exception. Mr. Kennedy, do you have questions for Megan or Jerry? Thank you. Mr. Sonata?
Yes, let's back up a little bit here. Glass. I thought you put that in with your recyclers. I mean, is this something, am I missing something here? Because I live in Union, I put plastic, everything in my big blue container.
It will depend on your hauler. So, if you're a customer in Lawrence County, if you're a customer of like Belly Waste or Tri-County Industries, they will accept glass and they use it as an alternative daily cover. If you're a customer of Waste Management or Aiken Refuse, I know Aiken does not take glass, but if you put it in with Waste Management, most likely it's probably going to be a landfill in the form of that. So it depends on who your service provider is.
Okay, so that was my question, because I just assumed everything I put in my blue recyclable is recyclable.
It will go to a recycling center and then separated. And typically the broken glass that's contaminated, along with the other contaminants will get removed in the recycling center. It's very costly to a recycling program. It's one of the reasons that glass has been removed from so many curbside programs is processing is very expensive. It's labor intensive. The machinery that does it's expensive. So like any other service, it's costly. So glass adds to it.
Okay. So when we do this, we're paying them to do this. We're not getting money from them to give them this.
Right.
Do we ever make money on this?
No. There are some long-standing myths in recycling in general. When Act 101 was passed in 1988, of course, that's the law that mandated recycling for many communities in Pennsylvania. At that time, municipalities were under the impression, hey, we could make a lot of money by recycling because, for those of us, I'm going to date myself, but scout troops would make money by doing newspaper drives and collecting glass bottles and cans and things like that. What nobody really factored in was the law of supply and demand. So you went from little bits of materials getting recycled, suddenly you've got millions of pounds throughout the state. And those original promises that municipalities could make money quickly plummeted. And like any other service and utility in particular, there's a significant cost to get labor and equipment to everyone's house to do it.
I'm dating myself as well because I remember, like you're saying, we used to make money with this. Now you're saying we're losing.
Well,
we're not losing, we're paying.
One of the recycling is a tough thing, and just waste in general, because we don't necessarily see the savings in our pockets up front. You're saving money on your energy. You're saving money on the goods and services that you buy, because the big thing with recycling is, sure, you're saving resources, but more importantly, you're saving energy. And energy is extremely expensive. I'm sure if you look at what it costs to heat and light the buildings, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars. So energy is very expensive. The same thing applies to processing those materials. If you don't have to mine it, you don't have to process it, from a raw ore or oil, you're saving huge amounts of money, which get passed on to us.
Well, I appreciate the information, Jerry. I mean, I think you were very informative. It's just that the perceptions out there, maybe that's us have been around a while. And, Jill, like you said, I remember when Boy Scouts used to do that. And I remember, let's collect this stuff and we can get paid for it. Is it like the old, which you don't see anymore, but remember when we used to have bottles of pop and they used to take the money and kids would take it to the local grocery store and they give you money for it.
Some states do that, though, don't they? Like New York State?
You're correct. There are 12 or 14 states that do have a bottle bill where there's a deposit paid, and of course, it's just like you used to do. You take it back and get paid for it. That could potentially solve a lot of glass recycling and container recycling problems across the country.
All right, thank you. I appreciate your information.
Thank you, Chris. Dan, anything else? Okay, thank you. May I then have a motion for proposed number 11, resolution number 11?
I make a motion to approve resolution number 11.
I second that motion.
Thank you, gentlemen. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes,
motion carries.
thank you. Well, Megan and Jerry, it's always nice to see you both, and we appreciate your taking the time to join us, and I can assure you, I think you'll enjoy working with the Mercer Commissioners as you get to know them as well. Thank you both.
Thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome to stay, but if you have to move along, we understand. Next on our agenda would be proposed resolution 12, and this involves our Children and Youth Services Department. We have Mr. John Bout, the Director, and Mr. Mike Grippo, Deputy Director. Gentlemen, welcome. Did I just state your title?
I'm a contract monitor.
Excuse me.
That's all right.
I appreciate your correction. I knew it was a very official title, so I apologize. I don't know, I think, have you both met the two new commissioners? I think you have, John. Mike, I'm not sure.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were at our meeting though the other day, but you didn't get a chance to chat with them.
That's right.
Okay. Well, what we have in front of us, Chris and Dan, is a contract with, this is not a provider, is it? It is a provider. Okay. You'll see these gentlemen throughout the year because many of the agencies that they have to work with for the housing of children, among other things, we have to have contracts with. So consequently, they have to come before us and they explain who the agency is and the nature of the contract. So this is what you're here to talk about today.
That's right.
And this company is known as Avanco International of Clifton, Virginia. This is proposed resolution 12. And gentlemen, I'll turn it over to you and you can give us all the specifics.
Commissioners, good morning. Appreciate your time. Avanco is the provider of our case management system, which we call CAPS. CAPS is in 56 counties. And the maintenance agreement before you for consideration is for maintenance and updating related to the data we collect, the AFCARS data, which is data that goes from the counties to the state to the federal government. And the 56 counties share the cost of the maintenance upgrade, and Lawrence County's share is $1,726.34. And I would add, it's not on your resolution, but of that cost, it is eligible for reimbursement through our Act 148 budget, which is a 40% county share. So at the end of the day, that $1,726, in the end, we'll see reimbursement, reducing our total cost to about $690.
And let me apologize. I think I misspoke a little bit. This is not a provider directly to the clients of CYS. This is more of your ongoing day-to-day operations. So forgive me, that's my fault. I misspoke to the two of you, and I'm glad you clarified that this is a company with whom we do business, but they do not accept children. This is obviously the manner in which you just described. So forgive my blunder.
Okay.
So let me see, is there anything else you gentlemen need to add? If not, I'll see if Mr. Sonata has any questions. No. Thank you, Chris. Mr. Kennedy.
I'm reading here, is this just a period for 6 months?
This is just a period for 6 months.
Does that mean you'll be back in 6 months and we'll do this again?
This maintenance upgrade specific to AFCARS, Avanco throughout the year. So in July, we will be back for the agreement related to, I'll say, the full service of the contract. This is just specific. This is in essence, they don't use the terminology, this is mine. I would call this a rider. Avanco has realized with their case management system that they need to make updates and upgrades for the counties related to the data that we need to share with the state, which then gets parceled to the federal government. And so this is just a 6-month period for Avanco to do the updates necessary to be able to process the data that the state collects from us and send it to the federal government.
And I apologize to you, I kind of jumped in front of you, so forgive me. You had the floor and I didn't mean to do that to
That's
you.
fine.
Do you have other questions?
No, that was all I had.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Anything else, Chris? John or Mike, anything over and above what we've talked about? Again, you'll see these gentlemen probably midway through the years when your contract renewals start to come up. So you'll see a lot of them at a number of our meetings. It's always pleasant.
And in the next couple of weeks, Chris and I would like to come up and spend some time with you too.
That'd be great.
We'll get an appointment set up with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to come up and see we're both fairly new to this, so we don't know what you do. We'd like to have an idea of what you two gentlemen do.
We'd love to have you, and the staff would love to see you, so that's excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
May I please have a motion for Resolution 12?
I make a motion to accept Resolution 12.
Chris, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Dan. If there are no other comments or concerns, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes?
motion carries.
John, I want to thank you. You reached out to a gentleman yesterday on our behalf. We appreciate your doing that.
Commissioner, you're welcome, and appreciate your time. You saved one of the best for last. But I will say, I always enjoy going after Jerry and Megan. I always learn something.
Isn't that the truth? Well, we'll see you both.
Thank you
and,
too for what you do.
Thank you.
have a great day.
You too.
The next proposed resolution, number 13, is a technical amendment, essentially. This predates both Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Sanada. This was one of the last resolutions that the previous Board of Commissioners adopted in late December of 2023. That was Resolution 450. It establishes the millage rate for the county's property tax. Now, I want to emphasize that when we adopted the original resolution, the total millage was listed as 8.309 mils. That has not changed. This new resolution still has that figure at 8.309. What has changed, we've had to clarify the breakdown of the three components of the total millage rate. So, for example, the largest being, for general purposes, the original resolution had it at 7.528 mils. The amended correct resolution would read 7.603 mils. For debt purposes, the original resolution had that at 0.646 mils. The corrected, updated figure for debt purposes is 0.571 mils. And then for the library, the original resolution, actually these figures stay the same, if I'm reading this correctly, Joe. For the library, the original resolution had 0.135 mils. That figure does stay the same, 0.135. If you add those three figures, either way, you still come up with a millage rate of 8.309. Joe, are you able to indicate what caused us to have to make this technical correction?
Yeah, the final paperwork did not come in until the first week of January. So Controller Prescott and myself met on it and wanted to make an adjustment. We had used the initial figures that were given to us probably early December, and we got the final paperwork the first week of January.
Thank you.
Made the adjustment.
That's helpful to know. And again, I need to reemphasize, we didn't change the tax rate from the prior year. Taxes stayed the same, property tax, and that is still the case here. We are just making this adjustment in the two of the components that add into the final rate. But I'll see if Mr. Sanada has any questions.
Well, no, Mr. Chairman, the tax rate is staying the same, and I have no problem with that.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Kennedy?
I'm good.
Okay, appreciate that. And Joe, thank you for bringing this to our attention. We greatly appreciate it. So then, that all being said, may I have a motion for proposed resolution 13?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Chris and Dan. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. If you're going to give your packet to Debbie, I made a copy of the prior resolution. Would you like to
Yeah.
include that, please? Thank you, Dan. The next proposed resolution is number 15. Is that right, Vanessa? 14, I'm sorry. 14. Thank you. One of the things we have to do each year is make a number of appointments, as you all know. This particular proposed resolution deals with our membership as a county in the Southwest Pennsylvania Regional Planning Commission. And as we've noted here many times, Lawrence County is unique. There aren't many counties that have memberships in two different regional planning commissions. We have a membership in Southwest, which is primarily for the transportation-related matters. And then we also have a membership in the Northwest Commission, which is primarily for economic matters. The board structures differ in these two organizations. The Southwest Commission, there are 5 people from the county who serve on the board. In this case, it's the 3 elected commissioners, and then the board periodically appoints 2 other individuals. And these folks right now are in the middle of their terms. Amy McKinney, our planning director, and then a private sector representative who happens to live in Wilmington Township, Mr. Brad Berlin. But their terms are not up right now. What this proposed resolution does a couple of things. It makes it official that the 3 of us are members of the Southwest Board. But the other thing that they ask us to do is to designate a commissioner to serve on both the SPC's executive committee and the nominating committee. What this resolution would do would note that Commissioner Kennedy will take those 2 positions as well as being a member of the board. And you and I will also be members of the board, but Mr. Kennedy will serve on those 2 committees. And since I've mentioned the Northwest Commission, their structure is a little bit different. They only have 1 commissioner per county and 1 private sector member per county. And in the case of Lawrence County, it's been myself and the private sector member, who also is from Wilmington Township, but Tom McKinley. He and I go to the Northwest Commission meetings. I currently chair that board. My term as board chair is going to conclude on June 30th this year. What I'd like to do as we get closer to that date, I'm very willing, since I've been serving on that board for quite some time, and since my chairmanship is going to end, I would be willing to step back from that board, and since you're going to be the lead guy in Southwest, as long as you 2 don't object, and we can make this official in a few months, then have Mr. Sonata be our lead guy to Northwest, if that's agreeable. It's agreeable to me. And again, we can formalize that as we get closer. But today, what we're doing from a formal standpoint is, once again, we're appointing the 3 of us, but Mr. Kennedy will be more or less our lead person to SPC. You're pretty much doing what Commissioner Spielvogel had done. She held those positions. I also want to note, since we're talking about positions on various boards, Commissioner Kennedy will be replacing Commissioner Spielvogel on the Lawrence County Economic Development Corporation / Forward Lawrence Board. You'll be our lead person there, it's my understanding. And my understanding is that the Tourist Promotion Agency has approached you to replace Commissioner Spielvogel as a commissioner member of the Tourist Promotion Agency Board. So it all circles back to your comments at the beginning of the meeting. What can we do as commissioners to enhance economic issues in the county, work towards keeping young people here? So your service on these boards, both of you, are going to help in that regard. But to come full circle again, this resolution number 14, just to repeat, would appoint all 3 of us to the SPC board, with Mr. Kennedy being on the executive and nominating committees. So with that being said, Mr. Kennedy, do you have any comments or questions?
Just that it's gonna be an honor to be on this board. I've been reading over their website the last couple mornings. Very interesting what they do. Be a very interesting part of this job. And I'm sure Chris is gonna find the same thing on the Northwest Commission. I thank you. I thank you, Chris, for letting me do this.
Well, and both of your backgrounds certainly qualify with your legislative background, your background in municipal government. I mean, you'll be fine. You'll make wonderful members. And I can tell you, both of these agencies have top-notch full-time executive directors. Rich Fitzgerald was just named SPC's director, and he's a first-class professional. I had the privilege of serving on another board with him for many years. And Jill Foy's, who we're going to meet in a couple weeks, or maybe next week. Jill is up at Northwest, and she's first class. You'll thoroughly enjoy working with Jill. You'll have interaction with her as well, vice versa. So I thank you both for your willingness to do this, and particularly this morning as it relates to Southwest. Chris, comments?
No, I think it's very important for both of us to participate in this. Look forward to being part of the Southwest and Dan's leadership on the executive board, and I'll look forward to doing the Northwest. I had an opportunity back in the day. I actually chaired the Northwest caucus in the legislature, so I'm quite familiar with that area, working with the members of the legislature up there, and I look forward to working with the commissioners up there as well, and reporting back to Lawrence County. Lawrence County is unique, Chairman Vogler, because, as you know, and for Commissioner Kennedy's knowledge as well, we're part of the Northwest and the Southwest, and very few counties are part of that. I think sometimes we could leverage that to our advantage, because sometimes we can get a little extra out of Allegheny, the Southwest, and vice versa with the Northwest. So I think we will both be very active and want to participate in this. So thank you, Chairman.
And that's what I appreciate, because quite honestly, there's no rule that says you have to do what you're doing. I mean, yeah, we can all serve as county commissioners, but if you're willing to step up and do what you're going to be doing, and I appreciate both of you. And I'll certainly do all I can to help in any way possible. Well, may I have a motion, please, for Resolution 14?
I move we accept Resolution 14.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you both, gentlemen. So once again, this names the three of us to the Southwest Commission Board of Directors, but it also notes that Commissioner Kennedy will be our designated representative to the both Executive Committee and the Nominating Committee of SPC. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you, Vanessa. One transfer is in front of us today, and it's at this time of year, we don't have too many budget transfers because the budget has just been adopted, but we do have a request, and I assume you're going to be able to explain this.
Absolutely.
Thank you. This is the next joke. This is a request from District Judge Nicholson. She's asking that we transfer, and this was from within her budget, that we transfer $5,000 from her Staples line item, now Staples being the company that sells us office supplies, taking $5,000 from that line item into her materials and supplies line item. Joe, would you be able to give us some background?
Absolutely. The last several years, previous to the last few years, we had a Staples account for each office, and that's where a majority of the materials and supplies were ordered from. In the last few years, we kind of went away from it. This year, at the request of the controller's office, we sat down, we had a meeting, and decided that there's some safeguards in the Staples account. There's account monitoring. You can't spend $1 more than what you have in that account. So we thought it was a good idea to go back when doing the budget to the Staples accounts. However, DJ Nicholson's office, although she still has her Staples account, wanted to move some of the money out and put it back into materials and supplies. She had some different office copiers and things that she wanted to utilize outside of Staples, and that was okay. You know, it's just the line item was there. It was just a
moving some money within her Staples account back to her materials and supplies.
What originated this with Staples? You might remember at one time they had a facility in Union Township. And they came to us and said, look, if you enter into an agreement with us and buy a lot of your materials and supplies from us, we'll give you a discount. Is there still a discount to your knowledge?
Yeah,
There is?
There is, and on top of it, I mean, if we order from Staples, a lot of times they arrive the same day. You know, if not the very next day, if you ordered something from Staples, it was a quick turnaround compared to other places. Now, the world today, a lot of people are doing more online purchases with Amazon business and things of that nature. And at the end of the day, you know, we want to be financially and economically smart and get the most bang for our buck. But Staples does, like I said, they have account monitoring. You can't order more than what you have in your line item, so it limits the transfers throughout the course of the year to the Staples and so forth. And so there's benefits to using them.
Well, Joe, thank you for all that information. It's all very helpful to all of us. And that all being said, I'll see if Chris has questions.
Yeah, Joe, I think it's, you know, I utilized Staples back in the day when I used to order my own supplies, and I never had issues with them. And I think it's very important to have those safeguards in place. And I appreciate your efforts on that. And we always want to be as transparent as possible, and safeguards never hurt.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kennedy?
None.
Thank you very much. That all being said, may I have a motion to permit or to go forward with the requested transfer from Judge Nicholson of the $5,000, again, within her budget? Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Dan. Is there a second? Thank you, Chris. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Sinata,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. We dropped down to announcements, and there are a couple that added on top of what's on the listing here. I'll note to begin with that the three of us will reconvene next week, a week from today, January 16, 2024, for our Commissioners' Public Meeting. This afternoon at 1:30 in this room is the quarterly meeting of the West Central Job Partnership Governing Board. We're half of that board. The other half are the Mercer County Commissioners. And my hope is that the three of them will be here. And that meeting is open to the public. A couple of months from now, we'll go up to Mercer County. We move back and forth. So anybody who wishes to attend that meeting, it's at 1:30 today. The Planning Office has notified us that the Planning Commission meeting that was scheduled for tomorrow, January 10th, has been canceled. So there is no Planning Commission meeting tomorrow. I also want to note, and we will be putting a legal ad in the paper here shortly. Originally, the prison board was scheduled to meet next Wednesday, the 17th. We've had to adjust that because of a conflict with the commissioner's schedule that day. So we've checked with the other prison board members, and the prison board will convene on Tuesday, January 16, 1 week from today, at 12 noon in this room. It is open to the public. And one of the first items of business is we have to elect a new chair since Commissioner Spielvogel has finished her term. But I did want to note, prison board will be 1 day earlier than it normally would be. And we'll get a legal ad in the paper to that effect. And then finally, next Monday, the courthouse will be closed in observance of the Martin Luther King Day. And I don't believe mail is delivered on that day either. So we will be closed next Monday. I would ask for public comments, but the room is now empty. That being said, before we adjourn, I'll see if my colleagues have any closing comments. Mr. Sonata.
No, I think everything was fine.
Well, I always try to get done within an hour, and we didn't make it today, so we tried. Mr. Kennedy.
You almost made it.
Almost.
No, nothing here, dear.
Thank you, gentlemen. And again, I can't say enough how much I've enjoyed this last week working with both of you. I know we've thrown a lot at you, but boy, you've caught it all. I can say that. Vanessa or Joe, have we overlooked anything to your knowledge? Yes, sir. Thank you, then. May I have an adjournment motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Thank you both. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. The meeting is adjourned. And Mr. Vanasco will turn off the